Well, good morning, everyone. We're down here at the Las Vegas Federal Courthouse again today, and we do not have an answer or no verdict yet, as of yet. So we'll give everybody a moment to come on. We're going to take a few answers today and questions from people. We've got, like I said, no verdict has come in at all. We just thought we'd give a recap of what's been going on, and that there's quite a few of us down here in front of the federal courthouse. We're waiting patiently. It's probably pretty hard on the family right now. I know most of them are ready to get this over with and get an answer. But as of right now, we have no verdict and no sign of a verdict in the future just yet. It's all been quiet from the jurors. We haven't heard nothing back from them since they started deliberating on Thursday, about 1:30. We have about 20 plus people coming and going down here today in support. We have several of the family members of the defendants that are down here waiting for answers. We haven't seen none of the lawyers or attorneys for any of the defendants that showed up yet. We do have a lot of Homeland Security, a lot of Metro PD officers. I know there's about a dozen plus vehicles parked in behind the courthouse today. It's a high presence of law enforcement today. But I personally don't think we're going to get a verdict today, but we possibly could at any moment. We just don't know. So, but right now there's no sign of it. Brandon and I have been down here. We've had, Channel 3? Channel 3 came down here and interviewed us. And so we're having a little bit of media today. Very little, except just a couple people have showed up. It's been fairly quiet other than that.
Neil Wampler did a pretty lengthy interview. And I didn't really get a chance to hear everything he said. But Neil's very articulate. He's an intelligent man. He's very informative. So I'm sure he did a good job.
We also had Eric Parker. She gave an interview with Channel 3. So their presence are here. The media presence is here. They're waiting around probably like we are. But it's not like Portland, Oregon yet. We don't have the high presence. A lot of cars haven't showed up but of the media. So it's been fairly quiet so far today. We've just been hanging out and waiting on this verdict to come in. We'll be down here every single day until we do get a verdict. So it doesn't matter if it takes 3 or 4 days or a week. We'll be here every single day from about 8 o'clock in the morning until that's when the jurors get in and start deliberating until about 5 o'clock at night. So until we get a verdict, we will be here. There will be a lot of us coming and going, 20, 30 people every day that has committed themselves to being here. We have David Fleeman that shows up faithfully every single day. He was the first one here before any of us got here again today. Setting up flags, setting up the signs. So, and Doug Knowles again came. They're coming a long ways. They're coming about 80 miles one way from Crump over there all the way over here to support. So there's a lot of people that's put a lot into this. If there's any questions on here, I'll try to watch out for some questions that people might have. Ask them here, and we'll try to watch the screen here and see if there's anything important that comes on.
We had one encouraging thing. One of the alternate jurors, they've been dismissed, and one of them came out on the steps and was taking pictures of us. And I can only see one reason why they would do that, and that is, that they're on our side, or at least he was on our side. So hopefully that was a good sign.
We have about approximately 15 minutes. It takes a little longer than that, but once the jurors send a message back to the judge saying they have an answer or a question or whatever it is, the attorneys and lawyers and prosecutors and the whole team has 15 minutes. So they have to stay within 15 minutes of the courthouse, and they'll be called in, and we will know that when it's happening, because we know from Portland in the last 2 trials, people come running from everywhere to rush into the courthouse, especially when we know the verdict is in. The media will start showing up. The attorneys will be running down here. So, but once that verdict comes in, we will definitely notify you. We will be on the live stream immediately as soon as that happens when we know a decision. Once we're in the courtroom, it takes about a half hour to go through the formalities and read through the verdict situation thing. So it will, for the time we get notified, for the time the verdict is read, would be anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes and up to an hour.
And didn't you say there were 16 charges? So
there's a total, I think these men here have around 12 actual charges on these guys. There's about 16, 17 charges all total on everybody. So there's a lot for the jurors to go over. This isn't as simple as what happened there in Portland. They had about 7 charges there in Portland, Oregon that they had to make a decision on. The jurors here have over 12, around 12 plus charges here to look over. So
I'm at least encourage everybody I've talked to that actually sat through the trial, has good feelings about it. I think that pretty much culminated in the last 2 days though, because that's when the defense in the closing arguments was finally able to get out what they've been trying to say all this time. And she even hindered them somewhat at that. But I noticed when I was watching the jurors, they really perked up when the defense started giving their closing arguments. They were very, very attentive, and that's good. That's good for us.
Yeah, I've seen a question here. Lisa said, or asked, when do we think there might be a verdict? I don't expect one before Wednesday myself. This is just me from being in Portland and other trials around the country in the past. But we could get one today, but I don't expect it. I expect no earlier than tomorrow, possibly Wednesday or longer. One of the things about the longer the juror is deliberating, the more honest they most likely are going to be with this. They are looking into the case. It takes time to do that. If they've got to come back with a quick verdict, that's usually not good. So the longer the verdict, we get an answer back, the better off it is, because the jurors are looking into the evidence, trying to find a proper answer. And it also could mean, if it goes too long, a hung jury. That we don't want. But at least 2 or 3 days, I think it's a good sign myself.
But they have thousands and thousands of pages of stuff that they've got to go over. Regardless where their convictions are at the beginning, they got to go over everything. And there's videos, there's Facebook entries, there's thousands of pages that they got to look at. So any way you look at it, you're looking at least a few days. And then Friday, or they didn't do anything, and Thursday it was a short day. So, today's the first real full day. So this is going to take some time.
Yeah, they only had a few hours on Thursday, and today is the actual first long day since the weekend. So it
and I think that plays best for us, because the prosecution, they got the last word to say. And anytime you get the last word to say, my personal feeling is you want to give a few days so they can catch up on all the stuff that was said previous to that. It's kind of like, you've heard the old saying, whoever has the last word won the argument. So this will give them plenty of time. And I didn't go listen to the prosecution's closing remarks, but I heard they were very, very biased, of course, brutal, bunch of lies. So, now they've had a whole weekend plus, a long weekend to really go over and forget the closing remarks by the prosecution and look at all the evidence and go over everything.
The best evidence we had in this case came in the last few days of this case through Eric Parker's testimony. We struggled with witnesses in this case. We struggled with government threatening witnesses and witness intimidation. And so we was left with very little choice here but to bring Eric Parker on the stand. I personally wish more of the defendants could have took the stand or would have, but Eric Parker took the stand, and his testimony was very crucial to this whole case and was very powerful. The jurors got to hear a ton of evidence that was kept out by the prosecution for the 7 weeks we had court here. So those testimonies brought out Margaret Houston's being knocked to the ground. The government didn't play that. It got brought out that the video where Ammon Bundy was tased. The government kept that out for 7 weeks. It got brought out that Dave Bundy's arrest, that kept out for 7 weeks. So these things were crucial to get brought in there. The government did not want any misconduct of BLM agents brought into this case, and that was made clear from day one. Even Dan Love never testified in this case, and he was one of the main guys in charge out there. He also was the one who went before the grand jury and had all of these men indicted, and his testimony was still kept out of this case. But overall, the last couple of days was very informational packed for the juror. A lot of evidence came in that was kept out, not as much as we wanted to, but I still feel that it made a big impact on the jurors with his testimony, and the closing arguments of these defendants and their lawyers brought out a ton of information that had not been heard over and over and over again for 7 weeks, things that the government kept saying. The government's whole case is summed up in about 1 hour. And it just goes on over, and it's repetitive.
It's redundant. It's
over
boring,
and over again.
And it looks like they're desperate when they do that. It looks like they're overplaying their hand. They're condescending. And I saw this very similar thing in Oregon during the first trial. I think they feel it starting to slide away. So then what they do is they just try to go over and over and over and just cram it down the jury's throats. Well, we know now that some of the jurors up in Oregon in the first trial said they were insulted. Their intelligence was insulted by the way they were being treated by the prosecution. I saw a very similar thing. Again, I didn't wait for the last closing remarks or arguments by the prosecution, but I saw the first one. And I knew the second one, I didn't even want to see it because I knew it was just going to be more of the same. And it was, from what everybody told me. It was just more of the same. So that's all they got. And they just keep force feeding, try to cram this stuff down the jury's throats. And it gets very offensive.
It definitely does. If there's any questions anybody has to ask us, please ask it now. We're about to be finished here right now. I'm watching out for some good information here. I seen Rob said that we need more numbers down here. We definitely do. I know there's not a lot to do right now. It feels like we're just down here just sitting around, but we are educating people. We're telling people what's going on down here. There's tons and tons of people honking their horns, stopping by for free constitutions. Education and educating people for potential jurors is a big thing. That's our only hope that we have in any of these court trials anymore, is to educate the people to be able to be a good juror when they are called up. Because jurors can nullify freedom. Jurors can nullify bad laws, and that's their job when they see these unjust cases being taken before the courts. So keep praying for us. If you can get down here, come down here, stand with us, even if it's for just a couple of hours. We need people out here passing out constitutions, educating people, and we can stop this tyranny right now where it's at, and we're going to get a not guilty down here. That's what we're praying hard for, and we totally stand in faith that that's what we're going to get. And these guys will get to go home this week. So,
and that's going to be awesome to see them in the arms of their loved ones.
It definitely is. So we need supporters down here just to support the family here. This is going to be a very emotional time for this family. For whatever outcome it comes, they need moral support, and we need more people here just to support them. Because when we get that call to go up in this courtroom to hear this verdict, we need people to help support them emotionally and spiritually all the way around, because that's their life is on the limb right here. Yeah. So thanks again for joining us. We will try to have you another update about 5 o'clock to let you know what's happening. Unless we do get a verdict, we'll be coming back right at that moment and start letting everybody know a verdict is going to come in. Other than that, every day we'll be back down here letting you know what's going on moment by moment as it's happening down here.
If you're not losing some of your clothes, the knees aren't being worn out, you're not praying enough. Come on, let's pray.
Exactly. I know that the guys at Prump are really praying hard for these 6 men here. They're sitting in jail, and as I talk to them on the phone every night, and I go out there and visit them, they let me know that they are praying for all of us that are out here, and they're also praying for the guys in Henderson that are waiting on this trial. These 6 men right now that are waiting on a verdict are up here in this courthouse, sitting in a cell, in chains, handcuffs, feet chains, all day long. They don't get the chains taken off of them unless there's an answer from the verdict or the jurors have a question. They sit in chains all day long in a small concrete box up here. And it's horrible that these things are going on to people that are still innocent, that haven't been found guilty yet, that they are sitting in chains for almost 15 months. And it's pretty sad. But I'll let you go at that. We will try to be back again at 5 o'clock. Try to keep you updated as we go along. We'll be back tomorrow. Thanks again, and God bless. Keep praying for us, and we will see you later.
Nice. Yeah, that juror 15 was definitely on our side.
They came out here or something? Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to be allowed to be in the deliberation.
Oh, the juror 15? Oh, no, they're not. No. No,
They
that's...
said come and visit because, of course, you know, they might.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. We've got a quick update here at the Las Vegas Federal Courthouse down here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And the jurors had a question. We'll give everybody a moment to get on, and we'll give you this update here. It is about a little after 4 o'clock tonight. We don't expect a verdict at all today, but we are definitely way closer to a verdict down here. The jurors had a question, and about 3:30, or just slightly before, everybody rushed up to the courtroom to get this answer. The question was sealed by the judge. The prosecutors did not want this question public, but we have a gist of what it was, and but the actual question itself was sealed. The gist of the question was, do the jurors need to be anonymous on the on their decision for each defendant? If they couldn't be unanimous on all of them, can they just pick out one defendant for a charge or this and that? The answer to that is no. They have to be unanimous on them all. If one is guilty on conspiracy, all of them are guilty on conspiracy. So this is
Well, that's
what Roger kind of told me there a little bit. He kind of told me that they couldn't just pick one.
I understood it completely different.
Did you?
That they could take each individual charge against each individual defendant.
Okay.
And here comes Roger now. Let's get that.
He don't want to be live. So, but anyway, there's mixed feelings here for sure up here in the courtroom.
Was I getting in the way?
The jurors. No, you're okay. The jurors are definitely undecisive about each one of these defendants. They cannot decide if one of them is guilty or all of them are guilty. So one of the lawyers I talked to briefly said that this was a good sign. And I know that also in the courtroom today got brought up about it being a hung jury. We don't know that for sure at all yet, but Brand just confirmed here.
Yeah, it's each defendant and each charge has to be unanimous. It's not like they can find them unanimous against all of them with one charge.
Okay.
They have to break it down per defendant, per charge.
Per charge. And there's like over 12 charges here we're dealing with. Quite a few charges and quite a few pages. So it's a lot to go with. We are one step closer. An answer could be tomorrow. We still don't know. I know we're all waiting patiently out here, and it's a lot of them down here are very nervous and wanting an answer. But right now, that's all we know is we're not going to get an answer today. We're going to be back here tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning. The jurors are going to be back deliberating, and this answer that the judge and the defendants got together was sent back to the jurors, and they can decide what they can decipher of that question and answer that got back to them.
Now, one of the things that's really encouraging to me is the judge says they're asking what-if questions. So, in fact, she said they're way out here right now, and she said they need to be brought down to here to find focus. Well, there's dissension. Obviously, there's dissension in the jury, and they're asking what-if questions, which I think, my personal perspective, that's really good.
Yes. Yeah. We're very in high hopes here. We think the questions were good questions. We think that's a good sign. So.
Well, you know what it reminds me of is when we were in Oregon for the first trial, the jury had some questions. Folks, don't try to read too much into this. I'll tell you right now, you can't read too much into it. We drove ourselves crazy one night trying to figure out, and by trying to read into it what it meant to us. And I know with me, I was back and forth all night long. And it turned out to be actually quite different than I originally thought, just from the initial questions. So don't try to read too much into it. The one best thing that I can see is, they're not unanimous. There's some dissension between them, and I think that's a really good thing. And the other thing is they're asking what ifs. So the judge and the control the judge has over the jury is, you might say, slipping a little bit, or she doesn't have the control she thought she had. And again, I think that's good too.
Exactly. So, well, that's great. Great. Brand pointed this all out. Brand went up into the courtroom with quite a few others and listened to the whole thing. I was waiting down here on the street for some answers with some of the media, so I was glad Brand was up there. And we still don't know the answers to everything, but we're still waiting here. We're praying, and that's the main thing we need everybody out there to do, is keep praying and standing strong. And hopefully we'll have the big answer tomorrow that we're all waiting for.
And
here.
I noticed something that I just now remembered when we were sitting in there. Who is the other prosecuting attorney, the young guy? Is that Mayor?
The young guy's
Dickinson. Dickinson, I saw it with my own two eyes. He's got a crucifix. It might even be one of the saints on a chain, and he was sitting there like this with his head down, rubbing that crucifix or that little St. Christopher.
That's very interesting.
That was really interesting to me. Very interesting. And he didn't look overly happy. It's like he's praying to the wrong side is what he's doing.
Well, these prosecutors, they have their job at stake here on this also, because they have put a lot into this and have told a lot of lies up here, which all of us have witnessed these last 8 weeks. So we'll keep praying. We need your prayers. Anybody who can be down here tomorrow just to stand with us out here on the sidewalk as we're waiting on a verdict to come in, please come down here. We welcome everybody. About 8 o'clock tomorrow, we're going to be back down here, and if we don't get a verdict, we'll be down here all day till about 5 o'clock. And that'll be every day until we get a verdict. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us. We'll keep you updated as quick as we know everything here on the ground firsthand. Thanks again, and have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow. God bless.